Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and today we have to talk about something that is very serious in Final Fantasy XIV right now, an issue that Square Enix probably needs to address sooner rather than later. Now, normally when I make videos, it's about something like my first clear of content, or a new lodestone post, a guide, or maybe just how I'm receiving or what my reception is to a new feature. Technically, I guess this is the latter, because in this video we're going to be talking about the Blacklist feature, which was updated in Dawntrail. Now, the aim of the update was to make it so that players were more easily able to block out entire accounts. If you were blacklisted one player on an account, then you didn't have to deal with any of the players on that account. It made them all invisible. You couldn't interact with them. They added all sorts of other little bells and whistles to it, but it was effectively supposed to make it so that somebody couldn't just hop on an alt, and then you'd have to add the alt to the blacklist, and then another alt, and you have to add that to the blacklist. Now, on the surface, you're like, well, I mean, that's at least it's something, right? Like, it's not technically like a catch-all. It doesn't really solve all the issues, but on the surface, it at least seems like something that could be moderately better, even with a few problems that exist within that system as it is. Unfortunately, the way that Square Enix achieves that under the hood is something that apparently leaves some data that's able to be scraped about the players that are involved in that, well, circumstance. So, as you can see with this article that is over on the 14 Reddit, Final Fantasy XIV communities panic as it turns out changes to blacklisting meant to help reduce stalking also lets players use mods to track their alts. So I'm not going to pull up the article itself. I'm going to do my best to paraphrase as best I can, and I may miss something, but I think the point will still be we'll still get across. Basically, now that Square blocks entire accounts using the blacklist feature, it also has to use someone's account ID in the client in order to achieve that. That means that if someone scrapes that data, they can then use it to find not only the character that is blacklisted, but then they can also use it to find all of your alts, your retainer names, and wherever any of those characters, when they're logged into the game, what zone they're actually in. Effectively, it completely undoes the problem and in fact makes the stalking problem potentially worse. Now, this is kind of a two-pronged problem. Number one, it is of course achieved with a mod that I believe is not currently public in its usability. It is something that is currently in development, and the mod creator is coming under a lot of fire for, well, doing it. There's some other stuff we'll get into later, but yes, the mod itself and the creation of it is a problem, especially if the accusation that the reason that it's even being made in the first place is true. The accusation that the mod creator wanted to find retainers and the character names associated with them of people who were undercutting them on the market board. If that's true, it's alleged. That's socio behavior right there. So that's not great to begin with. But let's not, honeypot this. Square designing it the way they did, making it possible, is the underlying problem here. Because if this person didn't do it, somebody else always could. And if this thing never came to exist, eventually there's a good chance that something else similar would have been made to exist. It is a fundamental flaw with the way that the blacklist is designed, and it's something that Square Enix needs to address ASAP, because as long as that's able to be found, then it doesn't matter what the mod user or mod maker does. Somebody else, now especially that this is so public, is likely to come along and make the same thing for an allegedly similar reason to the original mod maker. It's one of those things where I have to debate if making the video like this is even a good idea. Like, do I really want to bring more attention to it? Does that exacerbate the problem? Or does bringing attention to it more so than a Reddit post and other stuff, does that get more people to notice, get Square to notice more easily, and get them to address it? I'm hoping it's the latter, because this is a big problem. There's always been an issue. I mean, I'm also not going to say this is a 14 specific issue. The internet has given a lot of people power in ways they probably shouldn't have it. But any tool that assists that, we kind of want to get rid of it. And again, I don't mean the mod. I mean, again, the way that it's made that makes the mod possible that needs to be addressed. So that's what this video is largely for. It's meant to raise awareness, also for Square to make the change, yes, but to make other people aware that they may, if they've dealt with this issue or actively dealing with an issue similar to it, may be at risk. I will also say this. if you're the mod maker and you somehow catch wind of this video, just don't release it. Yes, somebody else will probably do it, but whether or not the alleged reason is accurate, if you have to, so let me back up a sec. Apparently the mod maker is allowing the option to opt out of the feature. But to do so, you have to go to their Discord and provide the relevant information so you can be fully opted out. Which, no. Why would somebody just offer up all that information in a Discord server when the other people who could potentially be using the feature maliciously are in there? Also, why would you just give that to anyone? You know, why would you offer that information to anyone at all? And the reason why it's opt out instead of opt in is apparently because if it was opt-in, then it wouldn't be useful because the data would be so limited. Which, if that's the case, just don't do it. Like, that to me is just the logical outcome that this should have, is just don't do it. Don't release it. Don't make it public. Just don't. That's it. And that's the end of it, right? It's not the end of it because Square still needs to address it, but it's at least it's a layer off, you know? So please just think about what you're doing and think about how it just kind of doesn't need to exist for any good reason, you know? So, I mean, that's the chief message behind the video. Just protect yourselves. Square, do something about it. And it's especially important because, reminder that Square is also going to be updating the friends list this expansion. And if the friends list was going to have account-wide features as well, then no matter what, this would have compounded at some point when somebody did it on that and then found out also the blacklist. Like, no matter what, this would have been figured out because odds are they were going to do something similar with that. They need to protect the data. They need to find a better way of making the system work. And it is going to be a lot of work. It's going to cost money, but it needs to happen in an efficient manner that is good for the entire community. Like, you have to know at this point that the mods exist. You know, it doesn't matter who does or doesn't use them. They exist. And when you develop something, the way data is achieved from the client needs to be a consideration literally every single time. It sucks, but it is what it is. And because they will likely never take steps to completely remove modding, this is likely to be something they just have to consider for every single thing going forward. And yes, if you're someone who are afraid this will be the last time, the last step, there's still very low probability that they were to completely abolish modding. The difficulty in that is astronomical. Not to mention the number of people with cosmetics mods would probably just quit the game. I mean, there's people, I've had to become more and more aware of this stuff as time has gone on. And there are people who literally run full-fledged businesses just making mod assets. And technically, I mean, it's on them for making something that if Square really wanted to, they said, oh, you know, we're going to shut that down. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's on them. But also, it exists already. And Square's had such a hands-off policy for some time that they kind of just need to squash the problems as they happen that are really major problems like this one, because they're not going to do like an anti-cheat. They're not going to go after, like, even if you take down one thing, another one's going to spring up. Like, it's just, that's like the nature of things, right? So like, I wouldn't be worried if you're someone who does do stuff like that, but no, Square really does need to do this. I mean, if they were to buckle down, it would just surprise me if they somehow buckled down and did something actively to eliminate it in its entirety. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, not the best way to start off the new year in terms of having to make a 14 video. But like I said, I feel like the pressure needs to be on, because I don't want a friends list feature or an updated feature to, you know, maybe update FCs again, link shells. What are those, fellowships? I think they're called. Yeah. All of those, like if they do any updates to them, this is now in the back of my head. Like, how did they handle the data on the back end? So, you know, I don't know. Either way, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I made this. There was something else I was going to say, but I think my brain's just fried from just the fact that I have to do this to begin with. So I guess I'll end it there. If I remember what the other thing was I was going to say, I'll put it in the comment section below. I feel like it was important too. But yeah, if you're out there, protect yourselves. If you're dealing with this, you know, just do whatever you need to stay safe. And mod maker, just don't release it. Just can the whole thing, please. And Square, fix it. Like, do whatever you got to do, but find a way, because it's now Pandora's box is open. And yeah, you don't you do need to find, and I hate that I have to say that after Fruit just came out too, but it really is that case. So please do something. Please address it at the very least. So yeah, I don't know how to end the video. That is mostly a dour note, but yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one. You know, do your best to take care of yourself, and yeah, I'm ending the video now. Take care.